Hey, Ignore, what's up? I wish you guys could see the place where I'm sitting right now. This would honestly be such a cool spot to have a guest over and have a little talk, you know? This would be such a great place to have a conversation. I feel like we need to do more stuff to this tree, though, to make it even better. Like maybe put a bench around it? I don't know. I hesitate to say we should do too much with it because I wouldn't want to damage it. It is a pretty productive pear tree. But I feel like a few little accoutrements could be added to make this a really, really wonderful environment to get out and chill in. I was going to do a part 2 stream in a bit, but my buddy got a little too fucked up, so I'm walking the dogs and hoping he's sleeping before I restart it. Kind of pissed. Ignore. That sucks. That sucks. That's one of the dangers about living with roommates is that you have to deal with roommates' shit. Like, you have to deal with their bullshit all the fucking time. And their weird neuroses. Have you ever heard me talking about my old roommate Yoda? By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button as you trickle into the stream. It really does help the channel. It's the best way to say that you like what we're doing over here and to send the stream out to as many people as possible. Let YouTube's algorithm know that I'm alive, man. Come on. He had an all-nighter, drank too much, and this heat is absurd, so he got too sloshy and started telling the others and me to shut the fuck up and shit. It was weird, but it ain't the first time, so I'm gonna talk to him about it, because he's on a thin wire at this point. Yeah, you can't tolerate that sort of shit around you, or at least there's no reason to. There's some people that certainly can. I'm one of those people that will just tolerate a shitty situation forever, because I don't see a better way out of it. But there's no reason you should have to tolerate that sort of thing, and if there is some way that you can intervene in that situation, you'll always feel better for doing so, for 100% sure. Yeah, I got you. You got one other roommate, and they were, yeah. I got you. I understand. I've been patient, but it's worn thin at this point. Like I said, there's like I said, Ignore, there's no reason you have to deal with that if you don't want to deal with that. Especially if you all are grown. And from what I remember, Ignore, you and your roommates are in your, like, early to mid-20s, right? What's up, Jade? I ain't seen you in a while. Hard to look like a lady while coughing like that? No, it's really not, honestly. For me, it's as easy as Sunday pie. For me, it comes pretty naturally. I get that you might feel really embarrassed when you come out with a really loud cough, and the room looks at you and they're like, "Are you all right?" I've never had that problem. And spitting. Oh no! This trans girl acts like my grandma. I'm going to fucking kill. Like, I don't know, dude. Sorry. I have to do it too. Like, I have to do it though, because otherwise I'm just gonna be sitting here like, I'm trying to talk, but I can't. Like, it's just better to get it out. Better out than in. Kathy Bates. That's a pretty supreme compliment, honestly. Kathy Bates is a tremendous actress. The shitty thing is that he's a old high school friend. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now I understand the disconnect. Because it is kind of hard for me to understand why somebody would willingly tolerate that sort of behavior out of a roommate. When it comes to stuff that you can intervene in. But I also think about the fact that I don't intervene in a lot of shit, right? I always want to tell other people that they need to intervene and that it's good to intervene, but ultimately I don't intervene a whole lot. What's up, Alicia? Alicia, it bothers me. I'm not going to lie. It bothers me, Alicia, that you come in here telling me about Jesus, but by now you had to have listened to me long enough to understand that Jesus plays a pretty fundamental role in my philosophy. It's not Jesus that I have a problem with. It's Christians. It's people that go around professing the name of Christ, but don't actually do any of the activism that Christ advocated for. That don't actually do any of the behaviors that Christ did in his lifetime. I don't expect them to replicate the miracles of Jesus, but it would be nice if they could feed the hungry. It would be nice if they could house the homeless. I mean, especially in the wake of these ICE raids and everything, it's become really fucking rich to hear a bunch of people that are claiming to be both Trump supporters and Christians at the same time. Because Christianity lays out a very clear image for how you're supposed to treat a foreigner in your land. It doesn't say, be a douchebag to them if they don't have a job. It doesn't say, be a douchebag to them just because they're not there legally. It doesn't say, arrest them en masse. The Bible says you should be kind to foreigners traveling in your lands. The Bible says that you should be kind to people who seek to join your society. How's the temperature out there? Honestly, right now, it's pretty chill. It's not like chilly, but right now I'd say it's comfortable. Like, I could definitely see somebody getting hot out here if they were, like, doing something actively and, like, fucking around, like, cleaning their car or something like that. But it's also the kind of weather where if you sit down for a minute, you cool down pretty quickly. So it's pretty nice right now. Just curious, do you house the homeless in your home and invite the hungry in for dinner? Well, I actually was homeless for about 2 years, from spring of 2021 to around spring of 2023. And I overwintered with family members, but as soon as spring would come back around, right back on the road I'd go. And during that time, I indeed housed many people who were homeless because I had a minivan. And a lot of people in my position don't have a car, or a lot of people in the position I was back then, rather, don't have a car, much less anything else to help them shelter on the day-to-day. They might have a tent, but they can't set it up in a city unless they're out west or maybe some places on the East Coast. I don't know. But I know you're not setting up a tent in the average city in the South. I know you're not setting up a tent in the average city in the Midwest, you know? As far as feeding the hungry, I did that as often as I could by sharing my bread with whoever was there to be shared with. That's something that I think, it's what I call everyday communism. It's what I call everyday communism. It's the little things that we all do that the Christians call it being Christ-like. I call it everyday communism. But I think there's something to be said for all of these little everyday things that some of us choose to do out of the goodness of our hearts and out of an interest in, just a genuine interest in human goodness and in compassion for one's fellow human being. Things like offering your partner that is like looking at the food you've got, offering them some bites of it, or stuff like buying a sandwich for a homeless guy that you see out on the street. These little tiny acts compound over time to create new attitudes in people and to like power through like positive change in the world. But sorry, I get lost in the fucking noise of the woods sometimes. But I don't think it's necessarily my duty to prove to anybody else that I do these things. I think it's like just observable, that you can look around at society and see Christians not doing these things, and yet professing a belief system that advocates for them to do so. Can you read my comment? Sure, Alicia. Not to be rude at all, but what do you mean I'm not acting like Jesus or a Christian? Oh, I wasn't talking about you, Alicia. I don't know. I don't remember saying that you weren't, you specifically. I did go from reading your comment and responding to it to very quickly reading someone else's comment and responding to it. So you might have gotten confused there, but I don't think that's what I said. If I did, I didn't mean it towards you. At least I don't think I did. You don't occur to me as a particularly fake Christian. What I did say is that it bothers me that you keep repeating this at me when you should be able to see, right? You should be able to see that Jesus is a big part of my philosophy, right? And that my problems with the church lie not with Jesus Christ, but with his followers. And that's not to say that you're one of them. That's just to say what my problem with the church is in general. That problem exists. It's something that the Christian church has not been very well able to deal with. So it's something we have to keep talking about, until the Christian church reforms itself, basically, until Christians start acting like Christians again. Like, by and large. I know some of you guys do already. I'm not trying to paint every single Christian with the same broad brush, but it is a tendency in the church that has to be assuaged. But on the other hand, you can also see a lot of Christians walking in the footsteps of Christ. Why focus on only the fake ones? Well, because the fake ones represent such a large and growing movement in Christianity, right? I think the reason why it's particularly egregious at times like this is because a lot of people who vote for people like Trump, right, authoritarians like him, tend to also identify as Christians. And to my mind, it represents kind of hypocrisy. Good, bad, right, or wrong, whatever you feel about the Trump presidency, to me, it just feels like a strange bit of hypocrisy. It seems like you would either realize that, okay, this guy doesn't really align with the beliefs that he claims to align with. He doesn't really represent, there's no way his morality can be derived from the Bible, because this is what the Bible says on this issue, and it doesn't align. So you would think, or at least I would think, that you would either be seeing an exodus of people from churches or an exodus of people from the MAGA movement. And we are starting to see the cracks form in the MAGA movement, but I haven't personally seen evidence yet of some giant exodus where like hundreds of people are leaving in droves or whatever. Like that, to my knowledge, hasn't happened. There is, like I said, a little bit of a revolt forming over this Epstein file shit and over him just like outright threatening to get rid of an American citizenship because he doesn't like them. Like, that sort of shit is starting to worry people, and I think that the cracks in the armor are starting to form. But it's worrying to me, and I think kind of egregious right now, that the Christian church isn't speaking out against this directly. Because the Christian church is more than happy to speak out against queer people and to be politically involved against abortion. But for some reason, they don't want to step in on behalf of immigrants. Now, to their credit, there have been a few churches that have, notably Catholic churches all over America, have been fighting the good fight against ICE to the best of their ability. There have also been churches of other denominations that have been fighting the good fight in that way, and I applaud them. And God bless them for what they're doing. I'm vastly appreciative that they're out there doing that work, providing a safe haven for people that just want to live in America and work jobs that no other Americans want to do. Literally, that's all they want to come here and do. If you believe in the Christian God, then you should thank God that those churches are out there, and that some people are seeking, right, to the best of their ability, to live as Christ did, and to think as Christ thought. Thanks so much, Glitch Dash, for the gift membership. You're always handing those out, and you are probably going to be the reason why we have our first members only stream here soon. Thank you, Ignar, for accepting that membership, and that is super cool of you. I knew Ignar would snap it up. Serious question, how old were you the first time you dressed up like a woman? Mine was like 5 years old. Okay, so for me, the first time I was ever actually... Oh, no, dude, I was about to give you guys some bullshit. I was about to tell you that the first time I ever dressed up as, in feminine clothes was in 2019, but it wasn't, actually. I was really young, like, not really young, but I was a teenager, right? Like 14, 15 maybe, and I was in theater, and one of the girls had this project. We all had to come up with some sort of theater project, and it was the end of the year theater project, and one of the girls' projects is that they wanted to do like a whole gender bending thing, where they had me, and, well, obviously I wasn't out as trans at the time, so it was me and another dude, I guess, and they wanted both of us to dress up in these, basically in some sort of femme clothing, and I don't even remember the bit that we had to do. It was like a chorus dancer kind of thing. I was skinnier then, obviously, but I jumped at the opportunity. I thought, fucking way cool. Yes, hell yeah. And the only other like male in that class. I hate that shit. I know it's gross, but I don't know what else to do. You gotta get rid of that shit, you know? But the only other one in the class also jumped at the opportunity and was totally cool with it and everything. So that was super fun to participate in. But that was when I was like 14, I guess. I really don't remember if I was like 14 or 15 when that happened. But it was kind of tell you the neatness of it was superseded by the fact that they didn't have a dress that really fit me, because even though I was pretty skinny back then still, I was still very tall, and I was like stocky, you know. I guess my weight hadn't filled in with my body quite yet, and I just didn't. I was just like ill-fitting at that time. Now I'm sure, like, I've worn dresses like in the last 5 years that have been like made for excessively tall and large women, and they fit fine, and they're really cool. But I don't currently have any because I just like don't prefer them as a fashion statement, you know. Quick question, and not to be rude or anything, but I think you believe in Jesus, right? So if so, why don't you take up religion? And sorry if that's wrong. So my thing is, I don't believe in the divinity of Jesus necessarily, because I don't know if we have enough information, right? And I know that you probably find that a super blasphemous thing to say, but a lot of the things I talk about are pretty blasphemous. So I hope you'll humor me on this one. I think that Jesus was a really solid preacher of a really solid morality, and I'm not sure what else to believe. Is it possible for a human being to be empowered with some sort of supernatural magic that I don't understand? Which is how I would frame it. I know you would frame it differently. Is that possible? I don't know. Maybe. Like, anything's possible, right? I don't see a whole lot of evidence to believe that something like that occurred, so I don't personally believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ, but I do believe in the goodness of his message, and I also believe in the effect that he has in the minds of people who do believe in him, and in the minds of people like me who were raised to believe in him, who later came to saw him less as a real figure, so much, like, so to speak, like less as an actual true to life 100% factual representation of a historical event, and more as like a metaphor or a historical teacher. By the way, there's 132 people in here. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have like 67 likes, like that. So please hit that like button. It really does help. No, we would have 66. Sorry, my math was off. Would it be 66? Yes, it would be. Would it be? Yes. See, I'm not 100% retarded. I can do basic math. Is this real? No, this is entirely AI generated, actually. OMG, it's Phoebe! Yep, I'm right here. Like and share this stream, y'all. The more the merrier. Yeah, 100%. Every single time you like this stream is another way to send the stream out to even more people, which is the best way that you can increase the quality of your viewing pleasure, because that increases the number of people that are engaging with the chat, which ultimately leads to a more interesting stream. So please hit the like button, get more people in here, share the stream, do all that. And if you want to send a super chat, that is the best way to support the channel monetarily and say you like what we're doing here, you like fostering this attitude of real conversation, and it's a great way to make sure that your question gets read, because I read every single super chat as long as it doesn't violate TOS. Now that being said, I'm not going to like maim myself or like cut my hair off or whatever for you. Like, that's not what this stream is. But if you want to support the message, if you want to support the mission, that's the best way to do it. And with all that being said, what the fuck do you guys want to talk about? We're not sharing this. We just got here because you're making this yourself ridiculous. Oh, I think you will share this. No, we're going to unhide Jay. You want to be a little shit-talking anonymous weasel? Let's see. I'm having thumb problems. Okay. I'm like an old lady with this shit. Jay, got more shit to talk, buddy? Got more shit to talk, buddy? Because I got all night. Trump? Man, I am shocked that Trump still has people that are actively willing to get out there and campaign for him. That is amazing. Dude, motherfucker denies the importance of the Epstein files. That doesn't do it. Motherfucker threatens to get rid of Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship because she's a critic of his. That doesn't do it. Man, there are still going to be people. It doesn't matter. It's like Trump said, bro. He could walk out in the middle of Times Square and shoot someone dead in the fucking face in broad daylight. And it wouldn't matter to a certain segment of his supporters. There's just a certain segment of his supporters that they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Not attached to Trump, the being that does things. They're attached to Trump, the idea. I'm not, nah. Well, then let's have an actual conversation. Jesus Christ. We love Trump. I mean, in increasingly decreasing numbers from what I hear. What's up, Sea Life? They only support him anonymously on YT. In person, Trump supporters been real quiet lately. I know. That is a good point. I haven't seen a fucking Trump hat in a minute. It's been like 2-3 weeks since I've seen a Trump hat just out and about walking around. What's that emblematic of? I live in the Deep South, a place where I should be seeing Trump hats every day. Why have I gone from seeing like 12 Trump hats a day to seeing like 2 max? What is this lady talking about? I guess Trump right now. And the ironic thing is, we're talking about Trump. We're not actually talking about Trump. Nobody's asked me a thing about Trump of substance, and I haven't said anything of substance about him. So it's just like right now, it's a spiraling conversation where I'm desperately seeking for somebody in the chat that's willing to have an actual fucking conversation about something interesting, political, current events, philosophy, anything. Haven't managed to find it yet outside of a couple of people, but we're narrowing down the playing board, okay? Do you believe in populism or globalism? Why can't you believe in both? I didn't know those were like diametrically opposed philosophies. Can't you be a populist and a globalist? Or would a populist just be someone who believes in advancing the interests of one specific group? Would that be a populist? Or like one specific nation or something like that? Trump isn't that crazy. There's been worse. I am always very careful to say that Trump is not the worst president we've ever had. I am very careful to be nuanced about Trump. I do think that Trump fits the fucking definition of a fascist, but I think that fascism can take a lot of different forms, and not all of them involve rounding up Jews into concentration camps and gassing them with Zyklon B. I don't think that you have to do that exact thing in order to be a fascist. I think that you can fit that definition in a number of ways that are insidious in their own right, but that are not as harmful as somebody like Hitler. But I'm also very careful to recognize that Trump is not nearly the craziest or the most damaging president we've had. I mean, depending on your political positions and how you see things, Andrew Jackson is one of the most destructive presidents we ever had. Motherfucker was horribly destructive to the culture of Native Americans and to the people, like just the Native Americans as a people. Free market capitalism or communism? Why is there why, my friend, have you presented me with a false dichotomy? Why can't we have something like market socialism? We take basic needs, right? Shit like shelter, food, housing, and even food. I mean, like food, you can even make it like a something that exists on a spectrum, right? But we take basic needs, right? Shelter, housing, food. I guess shelter and housing are the same thing. Clean water, fresh air, and we make those available to anybody free of charge. And land passes down the generations generationally, and there's like obviously a system for allocating housing on the basis of request. There's going to be waiting lists for certain properties. That's 100% true, but that's currently true. That's currently true. There are people who've been on the waiting list for their favorite fucking ideal apartment because they can afford it, but they can't, like, there's been no vacancies because it's a really nice spot. There are people who are on waiting lists for fucking 10 years before they finally get that call that's like, hey, here's what the rent is now, here's what the agreement would look like now, are you still interested? So I don't know why this would be all that different from how we currently do things, but retain the market for things that are luxuries. You don't need a PlayStation 5 to get through life. You do need an internet connection, though. Make that something people have to pay for. You don't need like a giant book collection to get through life, but you do need access to the ability to learn and to the ability to increase your own base of knowledge. So, like, we have to have libraries and the ability for people to get from where they live to where the library is. Like, there's basic needs that I think need to be provided for, because to do so is to contribute to the advancement of the whole of society. I think that is something that is just borne out by the outcomes of all these countries that have enacted more like socially democratic kind of democratic socialist countries. But when it comes to like life's little luxuries and things like that, I think there's a lot of those that can remain market-based goods, you know? I don't think you have a human right to a skateboard. I don't think you have a human right to, you know, like a perfect replica copy of the lightsaber that fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi used in whatever movie. You know, like, you gotta be reasonable with the amount of shit that you expect people to just be able to get for free if you're talking about a transitionary system between what we have right now and some future, like, eco-futurist utopia where everything is provided on a, like, resource-based economy kind of basis, and where people are able to get access to whatever they need and more or less whatever they want. I think that a world like that is possible, but I think a transitionary system from what we have right now to that is going to look like a market socialist system. By the way, there's 387 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have like 150, 190 fucking likes instantly. So please do that on the screen or hit the like button. I think it's somewhere over here. Hold on. I'm actually going to turn the idiot button on because it's going to make things way more readable. And I hate to call it that, but that's really what it is. Like, there are just some people that want to troll. They don't really want to participate in the conversation. They just want to, like, throw turds. And this is not the zoo. I mean, I guess it is, but you guys are the exhibit. I should be behind plate glass. No, but seriously. This is what the chat looks like with the idiot button turned on. And it has to happen because some people just don't want to participate on an actually human level. They just want to fling turds and say uninteresting crap and fucking like insult their way to victory. And that's not the way I go about things. I'm perfectly fine insulting somebody if they do that to me. Like, if you start off on that basis, I'm more than happy to take it there, and I'm usually better at it than the people who try to do it to me. But it's never my first instinct, and so it's just really kind of jarring that people interact with me on that level so often. I've been introduced to the idea of communism multiple times. I've never really understood the need for it. We have systems in place for the disadvantaged. We should improve them. Well, quiet. That's the failure of those systems is from whence capitalism comes, right? Or I'm sorry, from whence communism comes. It's the failures of a system like capitalism. We have systems in place to help the disadvantaged, but those systems fail time and time again. They get underfunded, and in a capitalistic system where the primary motivator is profit, there is always going to be a profit motive in cutting costs. Cutting costs when it comes to programs meant to help the disenfranchised is always going to mean giving the disenfranchised less access to resources and shit like that. So it just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy where things continuously get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the idea expressed in the Communist Manifesto is not necessarily that, like, it's kind of hard to explain, right? It's less of a prescriptivist. It's less of a prescriptivist document and more of a descriptivist document. It's basically saying that because these systems continuously fail, because capitalism does what it does, and because it has these endless feedback loops, and because throughout history the lower classes have always clashed with the higher classes, and eventually they overtake them, and a new lower class is formed. And the Communist Manifesto basically lays out the theory that that wheel is about to be broken by the working class rising up and taking the place of the bourgeoisie, but instead of making a new lower class, they, like, because the dynamics have changed so Marx's theory was that because the dynamics have changed so much, and because the world was so much more global even in his time, that meant that people would naturally understand that creating a new lower class is not the smart, enlightened thing to do, and that society should be rebuilt in a way where people are providing for one another to the best of their ability and are getting what they need, right? I can't remember the old Marxist axiom. To each, what is it? To each according to his need, from each according to his ability. There you go. Communism has failed multiple times, sir, man. I know you really like repeating the whole sir, man, sir, man thing, but you have to understand that does not bother me nearly as much as you want it to bother me. Not to say that people aren't still going to do it endlessly, but it would be nice if I could disavow people of that notion. That being said, communism as an actual system has never actually been tried on this planet. Various authoritarian systems have slapped the label of communism over themselves and masqueraded around like they were communist countries while not actually engaging in anything that you would call truly communist. Because the governmental style and system that is kind of described by Marx in his writings is not the system that emerged in Soviet Russia, nor is it the system that emerged in Cuba, although I would argue that Cuba is one of the countries that's gotten closest to that ideal. They do have universal health care. They have some of the best doctors in the world, actually. And as far as I know, the average Cuban has a house and isn't worried about losing it. Name a country where communism is... I literally just told you that real communism has never been tried. Like, real, complete communism, as described by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, has never been tried on this planet. Various systems have gotten close, various systems have shot closer than others, and some of them have worked out better than others. Usually, a communistic/socialistic society works out pretty well until the West puts its fucking fingers on the scale. Like, for example, Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was implementing a big sweeping set of reforms in his home country, Libya, that was meant to improve the state of this country and to bring people more literacy and all this other shit. And he was basically hunted down and outed and regime changed out of power by the U.S. and the NATO coalition. But the same thing happened to Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran in 1952. it was basically a U.S.-backed coup where the Shah took a bunch of power. The CIA and the British M16 or MI6 rather, the British MI6 and the CIA worked together to get the Shah in the position of primacy and to I think they ended up putting the prime minister under house arrest for a bunch of years, died in house arrest, and the Shah of Iran took over. And the reason why Mohammad Mossadegh, the duly elected prime minister of Iran, was deposed was because he had the gall, the temerity, to charge prices that the West didn't like for his country's nationalized oil. Why do you live in America if it was so bad? Because I live here. Because I was born here. Because everything I know is here. Because America formed my belief system. Because the culture of America is not just whatever you think the culture of America is. Because my perception of what American culture is matters too. And so does my parents, and my whole families, and my friends, and people I don't even know. Every fucking American's perception of what American culture is different from every other single American's. And all of them are important to getting a broad and proper understanding of what it actually means to be an American, what American culture actually means, what it is, functionally. Even the Marxist version of communism won't work. I think you should take a political science course. I actually have taken a political science course, and it has abused me of the notion that a truly communistic society might be able to work. Now, I will tell you, I'm not a communist. I just got done telling you guys a few minutes ago that my ideal system is a market socialist system. And you have been arguing for communism, which is a system that I never even advocated for. Now, what I will say is that I think communism would be a certainly more workable system than capitalism, but I also think that communism, as described by Marx and Engels, is probably pretty outdated. I read the Communist Manifesto, and it rang of, well, let's just say it rang of its age. But I do thank you for all the super chats. That's kind of you. We are up to $15.95, by the way. Today, combined with the $5 from earlier, that puts us at $20.95. I usually have a daily stream goal of $50, and if we get to that goal before it has gotten to an hour and a half into the stream, I will do an extra 30 minutes for you guys. And if you then make it from 50 to 75, I'll give you 30 minutes after that too. Just throwing it out there into the crowd. I argue communism has been tried or attempted but always failed. That's why people always say it sounds good in theory but it's bad in practice in big groups. What would you consider real communism? Real communism would be a system wherein the workers actually maintain control, meaningful control, over the means of production. What that means is that if you work at a factory, you are automatically entitled to a vote in that factory's affairs. Whenever there's workers' meetings to determine new contracts with suppliers and things like that, you've got a vote that and you stay abridged. Basically, it means that people who do the work in a country actually get to make the decisions that influence that country, and that's what I would say communism is. And and I don't think that has been tried in any of these states that people say is communist. Like, there's a functional difference between like a democratic socialist country and a communist country. A communist country centers power in the hands of workers. It centers power in the hands of people who are involved in the things that make society go. Real communism most likely wouldn't work in practice. Well, we never know until we try, right? But once again, I'm not an advocate for like strict communism right away. I think that there's elements of communism that I really, really like. I think that workers should have way more control over the means of production. I think that workers should be in control of the places that they work and the places and the product that they make. I think or rather the lack of that power is how people's wages have been able to be stagnant for the last 30 years. I think it's how benefits have been able to get worse and worse. I think it's how we've been able to be perpetually kept from the universal healthcare system. Our refusal to take any of this power back from these big-ass corporations has led to our downfall as a people. With all of our debt and current infrastructure, it'd be impossible to swap to that ideal society, don't you think? Well, have you ever heard the phrase that a journey with 1,000 steps begins with the first one, you know? Or there's another phrase, a little bit more hillbilly. There's only one way to eat an elephant. And that's asshole first. No, I'm kidding. The real saying is there's only one way to eat an elephant. One bite at a time. And what that means when you apply it to the what that means when you apply it to the field of improving our country is that things take time, and it's definitely going to be a learning process, and it's definitely going to take people a long time to get used to some of these ideas, and you definitely have to implement them in stages. But I do think it's something that we could get to. But there's I advocate for in terms of short-term policy. I find it interesting that throughout all of this discussion, nobody's actually asked me what policies do you actually advocate for as far as like right now, because I think people get so caught up in this like communism versus capitalism debate because they like the high-mindedness of it, but ultimately we're all just jerking off at the jaw because capitalism is that is the system that we have right now, and all of our ideas for policies we can implement right now are going to be ideas that they might move us further away from a purely capitalistic model, but they are ideas that have to function within that framework on some level. Can you differentiate communism and socialism for the viewers who may not understand? I can try. So communism, if you define communism as like complete worker ownership of the means of production, then socialism would be this actually is kind of hard for me to differentiate because I've always gotten kind of confused on this difference, not gonna lie. But my understanding is that in a socialistic system, you do not necessarily own the means of production as a whole, but you have more of a stake in it as a people, and the reward and like the rewards of that are more fairly distributed throughout the society. And I also have been under the understanding that have I greened myself out of the point? Like, have I greened myself to the point where I can't talk about this responsibly? Who knows? Probably. Anyway. You can have private property. I know that that's like some fucking aspect of it. No, I can't. That's the honest truth of it is no. I don't think I can properly differentiate them. I've got a better understanding of communism as a philosophy than I do of socialism as a philosophy, outside of the fact that socialist system has it has more of an emphasis on cooperation throughout society as a group rather than on personal gain and like individual progress or whatever. That was probably like the most Valley Girl definition ever, but whatever. If it's a difference in who controls the means of production, yeah, but I don't get what the difference is, honestly. Like, I have been asked this question a million times, and every time I feel like I give a pretty shitty answer. But whatever, at least I can admit it, right? I just don't, like, I've had the difference explained to me, and it's just like, I don't know that I 100% get it. I think eventually we will have to have some form of socialism with the way AI is taking over. Um, this coming from a Trump voter. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like if you define socialism to mean like a system that is um, that involves some aspect of wealth redistribution, but where um, workers don't necessarily own the means of production, which is basically what I have always taken socialism to mean. Um, if you take socialism to mean that, then yeah, we're definitely going to have some of those policies come through in America. Otherwise, shit's just going to start falling apart and not working, even worse than it is right now. I mean, universal healthcare is one of those things people have been screaming about it for years, but it's getting to the point where it's just ridiculous how many of these insurance claims get denied, how many people die every year due to fucking just a lack of insurance. It's beginning to look a little ridiculous for the United States. So Trump is Israel's best friend, by the way. Oh, I know. Well, to be fair, though, every U.S. president is. Every U.S. president is Israel's best friend. I mean, it's not just Trump. Yeah, Trump's bad about it, but so was Biden. Biden loved to publicly Netanyahu, and then Netanyahu would come out and be like, there is no problem between me and Joe Biden. I don't know what he's talking about. You know? Are you a Dem or Republican? Oh, you sweet summer child. I am against the uniparty, which means I don't believe in Democrats or Republicans in terms of like a broad political movement. Now, that being said, if a good Democratic politician comes up, I'm more likely to vote for I'm more likely to vote for them than I am like any given Republican. But I don't ally myself with the Democratic Party. I don't like when I register to vote here soon. I don't plan to register as Democrat or Republican. I plan to register as an independent. So we live in a corporate dystopian apocalypse. So yeah, we 100% do. Dude, Glitch Dash, I saw the most dystopian fucking thing the other day. Literally, I saw, or not the other day, it was earlier today actually. I saw the shit. It was the White House, literally. The White House uploaded a 10-hour long video, or no, a 12-hour long video, 12 hours of lo-fi, something like 12 hours of MAGA lo-fi, big beautiful Bill ASMR to study / relax to, or some shit like that. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? And it literally is 12 hours going through the entire Big Beautiful Bill and looping it through little propaganda about all the different things the Big Beautiful Bill touches on. It's the creepiest fucking shit I've ever seen, but it's real. I think you should take a political compass test where to test where you find out. Yeah, I've taken one of those tests. I always fall in the like what is it, the bottom left corner? So at the top is more authoritarianism and the bottom is more libertarianism, right? And the left and the right is more on like social issues, right? Right. Isn't that the thing? Dude, those political compass tests, like politics are way more complicated than just two axes on a political compass. It's an interesting tool, but I find that people slip around a lot. Also, Phoebe, I know this is a separate, unrelated question, but do you think our generation are fucked? No. No, Ghost Eric. I don't think we're fucked, but I do think that we have a big hill to climb. And what I mean when I say we have a big hill to climb is that our parents and grandparents have not left us with a very functional world. If you look around at an American city, you see a vestige of what used to be beautiful. You see a vestige of what used to be powerful. A lot of times in certain neighborhoods, you see a vestige of what used to be walkable. American cities are places nobody wants to be, largely. A lot of the countryside is trashed up, garbaged up. A lot of it's boarded up and forgotten about. All kinds of family farms that lay fallow all over this country because there's no longer any money in just producing a little bit. There's no longer any money in just producing a couple of 100 acres worth. And when you think about the functionality of the world that our parents and grandparents have left us, it can make one feel pretty dismal, I grant you. But, one second. It doesn't have to be like this. A lot of my advocacy centers around getting people to support ideas and projects that would bring people um, some security in I guess you could say the aftermath of what's going on right now and what's going to continue to go on over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Things are going to get worse and worse and worse. And so that's why a big part of my advocacy is encouraging people to, and I wish I did it more on this channel. I need to do more of it, honestly. But a big part of my advocacy, just when I'm talking to people regularly and in my everyday life and everything, is the idea of self-sufficiency through personal crop growing. Like, if you can grow a garden, you should. If you can have like plant boxes or anything like that, you should. If you can have plants outside on your patio or something like that, you should. And the more of your food that you can supply to yourself, the better. And the more of your friends that you can convince to do that, the more there is to go around for everybody. Especially if, like, the more you know your neighbors and the better your relationship with them is, the more you guys can swap skills and take advantage of shared interests. And like this sort of thing is going to um, like, there are habits that people can adopt right now to prevent them from getting as fucked as they could be. But is our generation fucked in terms of like the policies we're gonna have to face? I mean, yeah, kinda, but only as much as every other generation has been fucked. I hear you. If I had any advice for an 18-year-old going into the real world, what would you say? Any advice for an 18-year-old going into the real world, what would I say? Man, that's a hard one. Let me think on it. Let me think about that for a second. If I had any advice for an 18-year-old going into the real world right now today, what would I tell them? Man, that's a hard one. Kids, not that somebody who's 18 is a kid, but, dude, people in their teens and shit are in such a weird place where, on the one hand, they're looking for guidance, and it's pretty much righteous to provide it to them, but on the other hand, anything you give them in the way of advice could be used to put them down a path that you might not have really intended at all. So it's hard to know what exactly is safe, in terms of advice. But I think, honestly, and this is going to sound fucked up and maybe contrary to some of the shit that I've said, but I think I would say go a little crazy with it. Honestly. Because if I can think of one thing that's helped me more than any other single thing in my life, it's probably the fact that I traveled for 2 years. It gave me an abundance of weird experiences. It gave me a lot of experience of having extemporaneous conversations with people about complicated topics. It gave me a lot of time to think about how I felt and to learn a shit ton about all kinds of different topics. It gave me a lot of time to just think. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. But I would never have done that if I hadn't decided to let myself go a little crazy. So I would say, honestly, go a little crazy with it, but don't be stupid with your money. Figure out ways you can go a little crazy with it without bankrupting yourself. And don't get any loans until you absolutely have to, dude. Don't like fuck with fucking personal loans and shit. Get a credit card when you can afford one. Like when you can afford one, when you can like rack it up every month and then pay it off instantly and not even like touch the credit limit ever. If you can get to that point, you can be responsible with that, 21, 22, 23. That's the best way to get started on your credit journey, that and just paying utility payments on time and rent payments on time and shit like that. That's because we, the people, haven't been doing our due diligence in who we elect. The government has been holding up dead trees, banks and corporations that need to be allowed to fail. Oh, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. But that's true of a lot of different corporations, man. That's true of a lot of shit. And it's also true when it comes to venture capital, too. There's a lot of venture capital holding up a bunch of corporations and ideas that aren't really prepared to survive on their own. And, ultimately the president doesn't have much to do with that specific issue. But when it comes to banks and corporate bailouts, that is something the president influences. And I agree, the American people haven't really done their due diligence in electing a president in a long ass time. I would argue maybe I don't know. Bill Clinton makes way more sense. Like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton kind of made sense as far as presidents go, at least in their first terms, Bill Clinton was kind of a reaction to this increasingly far-right kind of tendency within the Republican Party. And I think, that made sense. I think the American people voted with reason. Now, I think that after he started fucking over the American worker, it probably would have been time to get him out of office, but hey, that's just me. And when it comes to Obama, his first term around, the first time around, it was, he represented this big fucking, massive sea change compared to what Bush was offering. And a lot of people were really excited for his candidacy because they thought he was going to bring us universal health care. They thought he was going to close down Guantanamo Bay. They thought he was going to end the forever war, the 7-year-long at that point, or 6 or something year long Afghanistan conflict. And Barack Obama just ended up keeping these things up. And I think the American people didn't really do due diligence when they re-elected him in 2012. I don't think the American people did their due diligence when they elected Donald Trump in 2016. And I don't think the American people did their due diligence when they elected Joe Biden in 2020. But part of that is because I don't think the American people have been really allowed or encouraged to do their due diligence for a long time. Because a country that was actually interested in engaging with the system of voting in a good faith and honest way would not continuously vote for unqualified, disastrous candidates like Joe Biden and Donald Trump. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. That is the best way that you can show basic support to the channel. It really does help. It sends this out to the algorithm, and even more people can say it, and that makes it more interesting for you watching and anybody else that might be watching, because I read the chat here. More people interacting with the chat, the better the viewing experience for everybody. So hit that like button. Capitalism works when it's allowed to evolve naturally. To finish my last thought, I don't agree at all. I think that capitalism is one of those things that it infects the entire system naturally. The reason why the government is propping up these corporations that should be allowed to fail, the reason for that is because those corporations weren't failing for a long time, and it made the people involved in them very, very, very rich. And their company might rely on the government propping them up now, but they're still solvent, and their money is not going to be affected in the failure of that company anyway. And so they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly fine vampirically sucking off of a dead company, or what should be a dead company. A company that basically exists to absorb taxpayer dollars. And the reason for that is because the people who own and control these corporations donate lavishly. lavishly to people from both parties to ensure that policies remain in place that keep these corporations afloat, no matter what the market conditions insist on. That's because of capitalism. That's a system that exists because capitalism abhors a vacuum of power. The capitalist wants power over the government. When the only motive is profit, you have a profit motive to basically turn the government towards you. And so you're going to figure out some way to do that. The only way to change that is by deprioritizing profit as a culture, as a society, as a legal system. Phoebe's Trump pardoned King David. Google about that with me. I didn't expect that of all things to happen out of this presidency. Trump pardoned David. Who the fuck is King David? They hold parties and reunions for it. They call themselves January 6ers. There's insane. Oh yeah, dude. I know, dude. It's fucking wild. NGOs are a big problem. Doesn't NGO just mean non-governmental organization? Doesn't that cover like every charity on the planet? Why are NGOs the problem? Certain NGOs definitely are a problem. I mean, certain charities are fucking awful. It's like, well, for example, the March of Dimes, like, pays its CEOs fucking lavishly and pays its people lavishly and shit. And ultimately, it's something like less than a dime, ironically, out of every dollar you give to March of Dimes actually ends up going to help somebody. I remember that statistic. It may be different now. You in the woods? How did you guess? No, I'm not exactly in the woods. I kind of just live in the woods. I live in a weird little homestead that's been kind of developed over the last 80 years or so. And there's a tree line over that way. And then there's just a giant expanse of forest to the left of me. And I'm sitting under a pear tree. I don't think there are any katydids in the pear tree. I get the impression that they don't like pear very much. Trump also pardoned his fellow MAGA losers after they stormed the Capitol and called them poor and disgusting. Holy shit. Yeah. King David is a gang leader. He created the Black Disciples. Oh, what? That's fucking wild. Why? Is he like some big Trump supporter? He created the Black Disciples in like the 80s. He's been in jail since the early 2000s. So this is like an ancient ass OG, basically, is what you're telling me. It's like an ancient ass OG. Lobbying and corporate donations have made democracy non-existent in America. They've made democracy significantly less powerful in America. I think it's getting to the point where it's pretty fair to say that democracy has been destroyed in America, but I do still think there is an opportunity for us to flex our muscles electorally. And if that fails, I think there's an opportunity for us to flex our muscles, peacefully in an organized way, in some sort of protest, I think that's something that we could pursue as well. Something that we should pursue, honestly. Especially if shit keeps going the way it's been going. We should do karaoke together with the new Kanye track. That sounds like a great way to get my channel banned, Glitch Dash. Yeah, he's OG. Yeah, exactly. That's the impression that I was getting, yeah. Trump just got him out a week ago-ish for, I have no fucking clue at all. It was random as hell. Dude, we gotta look into this dude's background. Is he a Trump supporter? Is he a fucking Trump donor? Dude, what if this dude funneled Black Disciples gang money? Oh my god, dude. What if okay, I hope this shit happens, even though it would be representative of an even deeper level of corruption in America. I kind of hope it happens, because this would be kind of like breaking, right? What if it comes out, right? What if it comes out that King David funneled a bunch of Black Disciples gang money into Trump's campaign through anonymous individual donors or whatever. What if it comes out? What if some fucking kind of proof about that comes out, and it gets revealed that this was a quid pro quo scheme? Man, there's a whole rap lore argument going on in the comments right now, y'all. Well, I'm going to hit my bowl, and I'm going to look back at the chat in a minute, and I'm going to have something to commentate on. Would you help me repair my gate? Would you help me repair my door? Did you find what you were looking for? Would you help me repair my gate and door? Would you like a slice of lemon pound cake? You can have as much. Would you like a slice of lemon pound cake? You can have as much as you'd like to take. Why are you searching underneath my lemon pound cake? Was there a kidnapping victim in my coat pockets? Are there any kidnapping victims in my coat pockets? You crooked cops need to stop it. There were no kidnapping victims in my suit pockets. Why did the warrant say narcotics and kidnapping? Why did the warrant say narcotics and kidnapping? Why did the warrant say narcotics? Okay, well, I understand the narcotics, but why kidnapping? William J. Bryan was the elected presidential candidate of the Populist Party who created the Cross the Gold speech for the gold standard. He almost won the presidency, as for support of farmers nationwide and factory workers, IRC. Yeah, I mean, I would have to know more about him in order to endorse any of his ideas or his philosophy. As for the gold standard, I am a crazy fucking hippie, so you can probably already guess how I feel about the gold standard. I am a crazy anarchist hippie. I want you to guess. I'm a crazy anarchist futurist hippie, okay? I want you to guess how I feel about the gold standard. Good tunes, Phoebes. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. I love that song. Dude, if I got more fucking candles, I could have a legit kind of shrine out here. It would be kind of cool. Gold is pretty useless. Actually, as an element, gold is pretty useful now that we've invented complicated electronic technology. In the era when gold was only valuable due to its usefulness in creating jewelry and its the ease of working with it and its forgivability as a metal and things like that, and how pretty it is. Like when that was gold's primary use, right? Gold was pretty useless if you actually think about it, because it was basically just, I mean, it's not useless. I don't like to think of it as useless because there's a use in beauty. Human beings find satisfaction from beautiful things. It's been proven time and time again. It's worth it to create beautiful things, but it didn't have any sort of industrial or like homestead use, or anything like that, or anything even comparable to it until the invention of the semiconductor, basically. Until the invention of integrated circuits and things like that, which actually will use gold in the contacts. Many of the contacts, gold-plated or gold-lined for conductivity. Gold doesn't make very good wires, and not least of all because there's not that much of it on the planet, but it does make an exquisite contact. Yeah, I just Googled, I guess Trump pardoned his federal crime charges, but he still has his state crime charges. I don't know. It was I'll have a quick Google because I wanted to see who I was talking about. Cool. Well, right on. Now we know. Gold is also pretty plentiful in the context of what it's useful for and in general. I've always heard people that say gold is pretty scarce on the planet, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I don't understand. I know that there is a pretty fucking giant market for recyclability of gold. I don't know. I will be honest. I don't know that much. Like, I'm not a fucking mineral trader, you know? I'm not a gold trader. I'm not a, 18th century mercantilist going around with, a constantly weekly updated list of prices from all the, different mercantile and stores and trading companies on all that. And because I'm not that, right, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to this exact topic. All I have is speculation, you know? But I've always heard that gold is, the reason why there's such a big market for gold, even if it's recycled gold, is because there's just not that much of it on the planet. And because where it does exist, it's hard to mine up at this point. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. There is no gold scarcity that's artificial like diamonds and gemstones. Is that real? Is that true? Have I been high? Because it's more than fucking probable. I mean, I'm a fucking American. Shit we believe is just made up bullshit. Half the shit we're taught in our textbooks is heavily slanted. You know? We're the country that took in the Nazi scientists. We don't exactly have a great track record with progress and equality and shit like that. Hey, this question may seem a bit broad, but what is your overall outlook of college and the student debt crisis, and how do we approach them as the newer generations? Well, I think the best thing that people can do if you're my age or younger, I'm going to be 27. I'm going to be 27 next month, and if you're my age or younger, if what you're looking for is a career, find you a fucking trade union with an apprenticeship program. Apply there, bother them until they hire you, do that apprenticeship program, treat it as if it's college, learn as much as you can, good as you can, and there you go. You've got a career. If that's all you fucking care about, if you're just going into college because you feel like you need to go to college in order to get a good paying job, you don't. You literally do not. You just need your high school diploma or a GED. If you have that much and the drive to do more, then if all you're looking for is a paycheck so that you can save up the money to be an entrepreneur someday, or so that you can just have a good stable job so you can do the things you actually want to do, you don't really care that much about what your job is, then really consider going into one of the trades. Not even kidding. Not even fucking kidding. Because you're not going to incur a bunch of fucking debt. You're not going to deal with a giant class load that feels like overwhelming and at the same time remedial. Um, you're going to be actively earning money with the thing that you're doing to gain education at the same time. There's just like no downsides to it. The only downside to it is that you might have to work a pretty dirty job, you know? Like a lot of the trades are not exactly places where you come home from work smelling like a rose. But if you can deal with that, and you're probably going to have to deal with that at most jobs you're going to get with a lot of college degrees these days, with how overrepresented some degrees are in the marketplace, dude, like, you might end up smelling like fucking some pretty rank shit anyway at the end of your college career, because the major you went for is just not something that there's a lot of need in the market for. Right now, there is a shit ton of need for people in the trades. Now, I'm not personally someone who works in the trades, but my family, at least some of my family, were tradespeople. And like my grandpa, for example, he was a union plumber. And even back when I was a kid, my grandpa would talk about how there was a need for people to get into that, and need for people to take the reins from people like him, because he was on his way to retirement. He's been retired for several years at this point. For God, it's been like 10 or 15 years at this point, honestly. Crazy to think about, but it's been over 15 years, yeah. But I remember him, like, when I was a kid and he was on the road to retirement, talking about how he wished more young people would get into plumbing and the trades broadly, to take over the industry from people like him who'd gotten old and who are approaching the end of their union contract. They're approaching the end of their contracted, like, length of tenure, their maximum length of tenure or whatever. They're getting to the point where they're just going to have to retire. And that hasn't changed at all. In fact, it's gotten worse. There's more need for people in the trades now than there was back then. Phoebe, I graduated about a month and a half ago, and I'm now pursuing community college as a CS major, going into software engineering. Want to be a full-time student and work part-time on weekends. If you're like, yeah, a computer science major has way more of a chance of getting a job these days than somebody who's going in for like a philosophy degree or something like that. Now, that being said, even somebody that's going for one of these more esoteric degrees, if they're willing to go far enough with it and they're passionate enough about it, they can land themselves a teaching job somewhere on the back of one of those degrees. And they can turn that teaching job, if they're passionate enough about it and they get good enough at it, they can turn that teaching job into a consultancy job. And they can turn that into being an entertainer or whatever the fuck they actually want to do. So, like, there are career paths available to somebody who is, and maybe this is something I should place some emphasis on, so let me repeat it. There are career paths available to people who want to pursue esoteric degrees and are truly passionate about it. But if you think just getting any old random degree in whatever is fucking fun, interesting, is going to lead to a good job, then you're just not doing it right. And I'm not saying that you are this, Ghost Eric. I'm talking to anybody out there in the audience to whom this might apply. Understand that college, from what I can tell and from like what little bit of experience I have with it, you get out of it what you put into it. And like, if you go into it just thinking it's like an easy route to a higher paying job, you're probably not going to end up with a higher paying job out of it. You might look way into some kind of position that benefits it, but ultimately, if you're not that passionate about it, or if you're passionate about it but you're not so passionate about it that you seek out jobs that are adjacent to it and shit, then you might never get to the point where you're actually working a higher paid job on the basis of your degree. And that might just be something you have to accept about it. But like I said, if you go into it with genuine passion, get you a basket weaving degree, bro. I don't care. Get you an esoteric degree that only has a few specific uses. Pursue that relentlessly. Eventually land you a teaching job. Take that teaching job into a lecturing tour kind of thing, like during the summer when there's not classes going on or whatever, or on breaks or whatever you can manage to work out. People transition. Like, that's Jordan Peterson's story. He went from a professor to a lecturer, and from a lecturer to now he's like an online entertainer and a lecturer, and I don't know if he still holds a professorship. I don't think he does. But like an author and all this other shit, right? So somebody who is dedicated enough to their esoteric degree, definitely. And I'm not saying Jordan Peterson's an example of that, because obviously he's a sidey, I think. But you know, you get the point. Since I'm also getting my first job, does anyone in the chat have any recommendations of place of employment that offer tuition reimbursement / tuition assistance? I actually have some recommendations for that. Honestly, a shit ton of places that offer like decent benefits and everything will offer that exact benefit as part of their benefits package for full-time employees, and a lot of them will offer it for part-time employees too, especially if you're doing something that could ostensibly have some business use in the future. Sometimes it's something you have to read the fine print on, but I'm pretty sure Walmart offers that. Caterpillar offers that. Taco Bell offers that. At least it did when I worked there. I don't imagine it's changed in the last 9 months. Let's see here. Like a lot of big corporate chains, honestly, will offer it, at least to some degree, if there's some ostensible. Like I said, sometimes it hinges on the business foreseeing your choice, like you're choosing to continue to advance through the company using your bachelor's degree in computer science or whatever. Not that you have to pay back the tuition assistance if you don't end up doing that, but there are plenty of places that offer it. I'm looking much more into Chipotle or Qdoba because they seem to pay handsomely for college. There you go. Yeah. I mean, if you've already found a place that's like, hell yeah, fucking down, then go with that. Go with God, Europe is currently sitting right next to war with Russia. Europe also has expensive housing and high taxes all over. Racism / immigration are even bigger issues than in the U.S. I don't know if all that's true. I mean, Europe is definitely sitting right next to war with Russia, but they can't really help that. They can't really help the fact that Putin is insistent upon getting this little patch of land in fucking Ukraine. They can't help that fucking Russia is an imperialist shithole. And they can't help that the United States is a fucking imperialist shithole that is also willing to fucking let this drag on as long as fucking possible. The U.S. could probably take some military steps that would end this shit functionally. If the U.S. wanted to, they could escalate. And what is Russia going to do? They're going to send nukes? No, they're not. That's stupid. Russia's not going to fucking nuke us. They will talk a big game all day long, and when push comes to shove, nobody's going to turn that key, because they do not want to start. They don't want to start sending the missiles that doom us all to nuclear winter. Trust me. They don't want that any more than we want that, and we don't want that at all. I would highly recommend you look into becoming an aircraft technician. It's seriously great money. Bro, that's so funny because my uncle is in flight school and tried getting me into it. That's crazy. Dude, Ghost, you must be like a bright kid. I'm not saying you're a kid, it'll be condescending, but you're talking about college and talking about working and going to college at the same time. So I'm assuming you're 18, 19, something like that. But you must be a pretty bright person because, nobody just gets invited to flight school casually. NATO also antagonizes Russia, though. That is also true. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a relationship of mutual aggression. It's not something that I'm happy about, but it's something that we're going to have to fucking learn to navigate with. Honestly, I wish, this is going to sound awful, and maybe I'm just an idiot, but I kind of wish at moments like this that we had kind of a Henry Kissinger-esque figure somewhere in the Trump administration that was I believe that with all this turmoil, there comes a tremendous opportunity to set up a new world and a new peace formed from a global interdependence based on the principle of freedom and democracy for everyone. Never thought I'd be longing for the days of Kissinger, but there it is. Wouldn't it be nice if we had somebody that saw little personal petty conflicts as being way less important than the idea that we achieve peace with these countries that have been trying to fucking get one over on us for so long? Dude, maybe that's another thing I could argue with Paul Zigo about, but if I do, I'm gonna have to come armed to the teeth with information. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive on Kissinger and see exactly how I feel about him, because I feel, I'm gonna say it, you know what? If we can rehabilitate George W. Bush, it's only fair that we rehabilitate Kissinger. Man, he was just trying to build world peace, and he was just misinformed, man. Motherfucker, he was all fucked up, like he went through the Holocaust and shit. He was all fucked up in the head because he fucking went through World War II, bro, and it fucked up his line of thinking. So he was trying to achieve peace through war, but it was a noble goal, man. That little line just proves it, bro. No, I don't know. Kissinger was probably a pretty bad dude. I know he was a warmonger during the Vietnam era, you know. Uh, I don't know. Like I hear Kissinger quotes every so often that just make me kind of like long for the days when that represented a wing of conservatism, because it's way less fucking out there and bewildering than the type of shit you hear out of Washington D.C. today and out of the Republican Party today. But maybe I'm just maybe I'm falling prey to the same fallacy the conservatives fall victim to, where I'm just thinking, oh, shit was better once upon a time, PB, I'll pursue and navigate the college route, but if it doesn't work out, then I will probably say, damn, and go into plumbing. Uh, yeah, well, that's the thing. Plumbing is a really good career, yeah, but any of the trades are good options if college doesn't work out. And you asked earlier, what would I tell to somebody in that position? That's why I worded it the way I did, is because, and I'm glad that you ask clarifying questions about it, by the way, because it helped me figure out some more elements to that I wouldn't have necessarily considered, like the fact that it is important to remember that with enough effort, you can make the college route work if you're passionate enough about it. You can. There's nothing preventing you from it, but you have to accept a certain type of career, and you have to accept a certain standard of living, and you have to accept that if you want to be better than that, you're going to have to exercise some angles, and you're going to have to work it in some weird ways, maybe. But that it's possible. But that's why I say if somebody just wants a fucking career and you just like want to do something to make you money so that you can do things you actually want to do, and you're looking for something that's like more interesting and pays better than fast food and retail, dude, the trades are where I would tell anybody to go. 100% go to the trades. I had the same thoughts when I was your age. I wish I would have become an aircraft tech earlier. I mean, do what you're passionate about, of course, but also don't skip out on good money. Well, that's kind of the advice I'm trying to give, more or less, is that you should pursue college if that's what you genuinely want to do. If that's what you really want to do, you can make good money doing that, but you're going to have to accept a lot of years of working some pretty shitty jobs and accepting some pretty shitty conditions in order to live that way. And you might end up at the end of it saddled with quite a bit of debt, depending on the situation that you have and everything else. And you're not going to be able to have a family during that time. You're not going to be able to, um, like, if traveling a lot is one of your goals, like, you're not going to be able to do that if you're working as much as you can and going to college full time. It's a pretty ragged life, and it's something that you're going to have to do for like 6 fucking years if you want to pursue. if you want to pursue, well, maybe not 6 years, but at the very least 4 years, you're going to be pursuing that and living that way for at least 4 years to pursue one of these esoteric degrees. So I'm not talking about a practical degree with an actual tangible use immediately, right? Like a computer service degree or a law degree or a medical degree or anything like that, right? I'm talking about degrees that are more esoteric, um, like women's studies, that kind of thing, right? Liberal arts degrees is what they're usually called. I think that those are worth pursuing if you're really genuinely interested in them, but you have to accept that you're going to be living pretty ragged and pretty limited in how you can live for at least 4 years before you ever get to the point where you can start, like, applying that to any sort of job. And even then, you might end up just like, I don't know, you might end up like working as a teacher's assistant and then doing online classes to get your teacher's certificate so that you can start teaching those same ideas. And then if you want to make even more money after that, then you've got to like figure out a way to get on like the lecture circuit, and that's going to require credentials. You have to teach for a few years before you can talk like an expert. So you're talking about like, baseline 10 years of living, gradually less rough, but you're living for about 4 years pretty fucking rough to pursue an esoteric degree to the point where you can live off of it. Like I said, about 4 years in, you start being able to apply that to a job, and maybe you can find like a counselor position or some shit like that that doesn't require any kind of license, but that can take advantage of your esoteric degree in some way. And then from there you get like your teacher certificate, which allows you to teach that subject, and from there you get like a position that allows you to do that, and from there you get on the lecturer circuit, but you might have a completely different path. You might not want to teach it. You might want to get some sort of consultancy job. But that a lot of times involves being a professor first too. So, there's all kinds of different paths. There's all kinds of different paths through life, and someone that's dedicated enough to an esoteric degree and to going through some kind of academic route, somebody that's dedicated enough to that and willing to put enough of their life energy towards that will do things with that. They will have a successful life doing it, but you have to maintain fucking passion for it. And if you just burn the fuck out 4 years into it, I mean, you're basically left with this like bachelor's degree in something that you no longer have the energy to pursue full on, and then you're kind of fucked. So if all you're looking for is a career, go with the trades. Holy shit, we're down to 7 viewers? What the fuck? What has happened? Now Elon's lithium refinery has to use Corpus Christi city water instead of river water that Robstown people use because everyone signed a petition or some shit like that. Well, that's good, isn't it? That sounds like progress to me. FAFSA isn't free money. You'll be paying that back unless you get grants and scholarships. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like, with our current system of education, it's going to take you a lot of fucking effort and work to get to the point where you're able to like just handle paying your bills, paying off your student loans, and you're doing it with something that you went to college for. It just takes a lot of work and effort if it's not something that you can get like a bachelor's degree in it and then go to work for a company, and then the experience that you get there is more valuable than extra degrees on the topic. $1 million gallons of water a day for Elon's refinery was reported. That's not surprising at all, dude. Refineries are giant operations. Any of these like big industrial processes are. I mean, if you live in an area with a lot of factories, just drive by and realize how much of that infrastructure uses water. Realize how much of it uses water and electricity at the very least. And it's crazy. If you actually Like, when you learn how much electricity and how much water is consumed by industrial sources, it'll make you shit a brick. If you live in a town with a lot of industry, go look it up. It'll make you rethink the amount of fucking water you and your family use. It'll make the water you and your family use seem so fucking trivial. It'll make your water bill seem so fucking inexpensive by comparison. Phoebe, when I was in high school, I met school administrators 10 plus years out of college and still paying back their loans. Oh, yeah, 100%. So, like, it's a risk you take on, right? And that's why I treat the subject with such caution. That's why I treat the subject with such caution, because I think that there is a significant amount of risk in taking on so much debt for something that you're not guaranteed to get a job in. Now, if it is something that you can pretty much guarantee a job in, then by all means, go for it. Like the county always needs more teachers. So if you can get any sort of degree that can be useful at the high school or collegiate level, you can always find some kind of teaching position, almost always. America desperately needs more teachers. That's always an option for people, right, that just want to go the academic route. But it's not the route every single person wants to go. And even then, like you said, there are people that were 10 years out from college that are still paying back their fucking student loans, because the amounts of money that these student loans pay out in order to fund people's education, I mean, it's fucking stupid amounts of money, because these fucking colleges are allowed to charge stupid amounts of money. Because like every other fucking system in America, there's a bunch of fucking waste, fraud, and abuse. Nobody ever wants to talk about it when it comes to the education system, though. They want to talk about when it comes to the welfare system, when it comes to the Medicaid system, but they don't want to point out all the fucking pork, beef, and fat in so many fucking like collegiate level education setups. Things that are just meant to turn taxpayer dollars and like donor dollars and student dollars into like extra fucking large paychecks for the people at the very top, basically. Extra lavish offices for the administration. Giant fucking stadiums and shit, but subpar student housing. In my opinion, a well-funded college should be a really prestigious college. And I think the best example of that is Harvard, which is one of the most revered colleges on the planet, if not the most revered college on the planet. And a lot of it's thanks to its fucking giant endowment. Who the hell farms in a desert with no water? Ones with lobbyists, that's who. Well, yeah. Yeah. That, and a lot of land in the Southwest was real cheap for a real long time. And for a long time, I mean, there's a reason why the Old West had the reputation that it did. And there's a reason why even the modern West has the reputation that it does. There's a reason why people just kind of intrinsically think, especially if you're from the South or the Southeast, or even the Midwest, most people from those regions that think of the Southwest and the West Coast in general think, oh, well, anything goes over there. You could tell them you could tell them that you sat on a park bench and shared a joint with some random stranger and had a really good time. And as long as you finish the story with, oh, this was in California, they'll be like, oh, okay. As if everything suddenly makes sense, because, well, anything goes over there. And that attitude is still prevalent. Like that attitude never really died. And even after the era of the Old West went away, land was still super cheap in the American West, and a lot of fucking regulations kind of had yet to be implemented, and so a lot of real bad land use got practiced out west. That's one of the reasons why when I talk about dams and stuff as far as infrastructure, I always say that, like, human beings are going to alter the landscape. I think that that's just like a natural consequence of us being a curious species and being the types of naked apes that we are. That's just the way nature evolved us. Nature evolved us to, like, take a natural area and use a little bit of it to our advantage. Like, I don't know why it's okay for a beaver to dam up a creek, but it's not okay for human beings to dam up a creek, even if we manage to fundamentally do the same things that the beavers do in terms of creating infrastructure fish can continue to use and stuff like that, right? Which is, by the way, an aspect of, and that's an aspect of human design increasingly. But when it comes to the West Coast, I'm always like, no dams on the West Coast because I don't think it fucking works out there. And it's really only the lack of regulations for a lot of years that allowed this sort of tendency to evolve. But once it became so lucrative, it's something that got encoded in regulations, and now it's something that's just standard. Like, it's just standard to have a fucking dam on a productive river out west because, well, you need that water. You got to store it somewhere. You got to store it somehow. We've taken the devil's bargain and started farming a bunch of shit in a place where, not a whole lot of surface water naturally flows. Exactly. Aqueducts like in California, yeah, we can't keep our reservoirs full and are in constant drought because of them. But they can grow a variety of crops in the desert. Most people in desert regions farm strategically. It's not really comparable to big money projects. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about like local level farmers, yeah, people who are like desert farmers on a more like, I don't know, tribal level, on a more village level, on that level, you can do sustainable desert farming. And there's actually all kinds of crops, especially in North America, that the indigenous peoples of the Southwest have developed through the years that are incredibly well suited to those conditions. There are types of corn, types of squash, types of all sorts of things that are particularly well suited to the conditions of the American Southwest. How come high schools will teach anything but personal finance, at least most of the time? Because part of the bourgeoisie, or the ownership class, or whatever you want to call them, the people who own and control the businesses in this country, and by extension own and control the politicians in this country, they don't want you ultimately being able to make really good decisions about your personal finance. Because really good decisions about your personal finances are going to be decisions that don't necessarily benefit the market. They're going to be decisions like not spending all of your money on consumer goods. They're going to be decisions like saving your money in high interest savings accounts. They're going to be things like not taking out needless lines of credit, but rather taking out strategic lines of credit that you can cover simply to prove that you can cover it, so that you put yourself in a position to get better loans in the future. Not getting a loan that you don't need, right? Good economic decisions for a person personally are bad economic decisions as far as the enrichment of people in that position are concerned. They want you to fuck up. They want you to take out a bunch of shitty personal loans that you can't pay back. They want you to spend all of your money on useless ass consumer goods that are designed to fail after a couple of years. They want you to spend your money on planned obsolescence products. They want you to treat everything in your life as an endless money sink, right? And so teaching you personal finance runs contrary to that goal. Everything else is meant to give you a basic understanding of the world that allows you to operate like not a complete cretin, But personal finance actually puts you at an advantage over the people who seek to exploit the working class in America. At least that's the only reason I've been able to come up with. Let me see here. Or large-scale infrastructure in places like Ethiopia and Sudan and Oman, they have to be really creative to try and remain self-sustaining. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Schools don't teach real-life skills because they were originally established to teach sciences and arts in the past, which were tough times where everyone learned life skills on their own. I don't know about that. And lo it was that the stream began, and only the faithful remained.
Sorry about that, y'all. I was sitting outside, obviously, and my phone died, so that's why the stream cut out. Anyway, I'm back. Refresh. Hit the little refresh button. Refresh your stream. Refresh your stream. Refresh your version of the stream. Stream. Refresh your version of the stream. Refresh your version of the stream. Refresh your version of the stream. Headsets. Oh. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call dead chat syndrome. As you can see, there is no sign of life in this corner of the great ocean. Nothing stirs here. Try to get out and get back in. Yeah, if you can see the chat, if anyone can hear me. You back. I back. Guess who's back? Back again. Baby's back. Tell everyone to refresh. Anyway, can anybody hear me? Is everybody back? There we go. I switched back to all messages, so that should help. Do you know any Decemberists? When we arrive, sons and daughters, we'll build our homes on the water. We'll build our mounds of cinnamon. We'll build our walls aluminum now. When we arrive across the water, send me your arms and shoulder. Coming down the ridge along with failing car and the ridge along now. Yeah, I don't know all the words, and I probably got many of them wrong, but whatever. I remember that song because it's in The Office. We inside and shit. Yeah, exactly. Every time you got me covered. I try my best. Got any other requests? Y'all want to hear some Mischief Brew covered in a truly folk punk style? With mother bought the farm, we sold the farm, mistake his blood for rustic charms. Sold his ghost as enmity to the city. Here's today's camel with a spade. Rest in peace, your weary trade. Rest in peace. Yesterday camel with a spade. Rest in peace, your weary trade. Why preserve a weary trade? It's misery. We sigh and see another modern man. Want a property, not land. So why outstretch this battered ad? Will you listen? Come sit down, we're lamenting yesterday's memory. Come sit down, we're lamenting about yesterday's sad. I feel like I'm getting the lyrics wrong, but part of me doesn't feel like I am. Part of me feels like I'm just thinking I'm getting the lyrics wrong. I mean, still clap, clap. Hey! I'll call you now, tell you I'm thinking of you. Does me no good in the phone, it's just lucky you. I would sail back to you. Yes, I would sail back to you. That's a really sad song. I ain't gonna play that one. I ain't gonna play that one. Nope, not gonna play that one. Too sad. I don't want to make the mood miserable, you know? You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant, accepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Sorry, that song was stuck in my head. The chorus of it, anyway. It's a really long song, so I don't know all the words to it. It's more of a spoken word piece than it is a song. It's almost 3 a.m. and I'm up fiddling with my plants. That's a good place to be in. I'll be your death cab if you'll be my cutie. I don't know if I can do that one, man. I played that song a lot, bro. And yes, it's the song you're thinking of. I played that song a fuck ton in the first 5 years of me playing guitar. We all know the song. someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark. No blinding light, tunnels to gates of white, just our hands clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the no's on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul departs, then I'll follow you into the dark. In Catholic school, as vicious as Roman rule, I got my knuckles bruised. And something, 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 I'm almost thankful that I forgot the words, because this song is overplayed, even though this band is actually good. But I just don't know any of their other songs like I should, even though I'm a fan. So I just have to fuck up their most popular one. Something that rhymes with van. Oh shit. Just good enough at guitar to be incompetent. Oh, a wonderful rendition of my least favorite. Yeah, dude. Dude, that's why I didn't take it seriously, is because I didn't figure you liked it any more than I do after hearing it a million times, which I'm one of the people that's responsible for overplaying it, so I can't even talk no shit. But I did try my best until I kind of ran out of lyrics. But I'll tell you what, that same dude who does Death Cab for Cutie has another band called The Postal Service, and they have a song that I do really like. Wee! I was thinking points aside, freckles in our eyes are mirror images, and when we kiss they are perfectly aligned. And I have to speculate that God himself did make us into mirror images, like you in the clay of you. Hope you hear this song. They will see us waving from such great heights. Come down, down, but we'll stay all on your machine, but the persistent beat, it sounded harsh upon listening, and you just have the best. You'll hear the highest highs and lowest lows in the radio. This song is guiding you home. You'll see us waiting from such great heights. Come down now, but we'll stay. But everything looks perfect from so far away. Come down now, but we'll stay. They will see us waving from such great heights. Come down now, but we'll stay. And everything looks perfect from so far away. Come down now, but we'll stay. I'm an idiot, bro, dude. You guys know this about me at this point. I'll just bullshit the lyrics if I forget them. When I was 18, I was at a party, and there was this 30-year-old guy randomly there, and he played that song on his guitar and sang, and I hooked up them. Oh man, yeah. I mean, you were both of age. Like, it's whatever, right? But that does sound like a story that would very much that there's something unequivocally 2000s about that story. I don't know why. Stories like that, maybe some of them with less controversial implications, but stories like that, there are all kinds of stories like that. What is that called? There are all kinds of weird little stories, some of them longer, some of them just short little anecdotes that conjure up an image of a specific time and place. Just by implication, really. I like Iron One's cover of that too, actually. That the freckles in our eyes are mere images, and when we shift, they are perfectly aligned. I like that song too. I can't, like, my voice doesn't go as comfortably deep as Sean Bean's does, but But if you like Iron and Wine songs, boy. I used to have quite the collection in my repertoire. Please remember me happily by the rose bush, laughing with bruises on my chin. Time when counted every black car passing your house upon the hill and up until a mountain range, a pig bank, vision to remove to mention, and please remember me happily. I heard from someone you're still, heard from someone. Damn it, I can't remember any of the lyrics to that one either. Fuck. Whatever, the trapeze swinger is super fucking long anyway. Will you say when I'm gone away, your father's body was Judgment Day? We both dove and rose from the riverside. 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 Will you say of me when I'm gone? I loved your son for his sturdy arms. We both learned to cradle and live without. Live without. Live without. Will you say when I'm gone away, your father's body was Judgment Day? We both dove and rose to the riverside. Riverside. Will you say of me when I'm gone? Light shines, 'cause light makes a deal with each coming night. Coming night. Coming night. Coming night. That's kind of a heavy song too, come to think of it. It's just funny, that's what did it for me. Yeah, for sure. I tried counting sheep, but there's one I always miss. Yeah, I feel that. just out there prowling around. Keeps you up because you can't find them. Thank you for the $5, by the way. I appreciate that a lot. Anyway, that's enough guitar for one night. Oh, man. I don't know what else we want to talk about, y'all. The night is late. Things have ran late. What's up, Tyson? Oh, man. You like stand-up comedy? I'm a big fan of George Carlin from back in the day. Newer comedians I'm a little iffy on. Always a big Fluffy fan. I'm usually not disappointed with the Gabriel Iglesias performance. Usually not dissatisfied with the Cat Williams performance, but I haven't seen a lot of his newer stuff, so I don't know. Maybe he's becoming too. But as far as like older comics, I like a lot of older comedy. I recommend Shane Gillis. I'd want to hear your opinion on him. I can't remember if that's one of the ones I've heard or not. I hope someday we all have a world where we can get the things that we want, because I think a lot of what regular ass working class people want, I think a lot of it is not very complicated. You know, that's just something I find myself thinking about. I've talked about him before, so maybe that's why you register his name, so you've seen him. He's fucking hilarious. I'll warn you, it's pretty intense jokes, but you can tell he doesn't actually have any hate. Well, I mean, I'm used to pretty intense jokes. I mean, like I said, I'm a Carlin fan from way back, and Carlin was a pretty edgy comic, you know. Bill Hicks fan from way back, so he was a pretty, like, edgy comic. Arguably edgier than Carlin in some ways. What the fuck are we talking about? All right, y'all. Well, I'll give that dude a chance or something. I might have seen some of his stuff already. I feel like one of my housemates was watching that recently. Was watching him recently, but I'll give it a listen. I'll give him a check. I'll check it out. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm tired, and I'm gonna go. Good night, y'all. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will see you guys around some other time.